Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to my, and I've said welcome twice, to my review of the Hyte Y60, a rather revolutionary case with a wraparound glass panel. It's actually separate panels, and an incredibly unique design that few people have likened to a fish tank, but it seems to have divided opinion. But if you fancy a look at this case, we're going to get down and dirty in it. I've actually built my own personal system in it, as well as done the normal review testing that we always do. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, all of those things, and you can follow us on socials underneath as well if you fancy it. But get yourself comfy and we'll have a look at this brand new case. So into the bulk of the review, and with many reflections, thought I would give you a quick glance around the case. So, obviously, very striking design. Normally, I would start at the top and the front of the case, because that's normally where the I/O is. But it's actually down here on this corner, which kind of makes a lot of sense when you think about it, especially when you're sat down. But you've got your power switch, which will light up, two USB 3s, a USB-C over here, and then a combined headphone and microphone port. Now, there's an awful lot for us to talk about with this case, but obviously the most striking part of it is the wraparound. Now, a lot of people thought it was bent or curved glass, but it's actually separate panels. So the side can come off, and you can actually take this front panel off as well to have an open designed case. It's 3 screws in the side. This part of the case, though, this one is actually technically structural, and they say not to move it without all of the glass panels fitted. Now the door, just even that alone, just taking the doors off, is actually quite simple. Obviously I'm making it look really complicated on camera, but they are dual layer as well. So this is metal on the outside and then plastic on the inside for the dust filtering. The reason why I made it look difficult is because the USB 3 connector was hanging out. Let's get your words out, Tom. So just all pops in. Now the design, like this part of the design, is also followed through on the roof, as you can see. And it all does flow, and it flows inside as well, which is quite clever and also really annoying. When you come around to the back, that's how you release the rear panel, and again it's double-sided, so you've got metal on this side and then you've got plastic on the other side where all the fittings are and for the dust filtering. I'm not seeing how easily I would be able to dismantle it, but obviously a good hoover with a soft brush on the end of the hoover attachment, you should be fine. Now, in the roof, as you can see, there is mounts up here for fans. You can put the fans in this recess as well, but there is room for a 360mm radiator, or up to a 360mm radiator, but you can fit a couple of 140 fans up there as well if you want. You can see that there is a cutout at this end to help with hosing and cabling and stuff. There's not really a lot of room over the top here for your cables, so if you were going to be putting fans above, then the cables are going to need to go through the gap to the top of the motherboard, which I will show you in a bit. But yes, again, very simple roof. Just go around and it all just pop clips in. Also worth noting, editing in this part here, because I hadn't noticed to start off with, there are screws around the radiator stroke fan tray in the roof, so you can remove it to aid your installation, and then that means you don't have the issues that I did originally when I was building it, trying to screw the fans in from underneath, because you can do it away from the case and it makes your life so much easier. Now, looking around the back, 120mm fan in the back. There is actually 3 fitted 120mm fans from the factory. There's one in the back, one in the bottom. They go up to 1300 RPM. You'll see in the graphs in a bit that it says 1400 RPM, but that was because that was the reading that the Asus fan control software told me that they were spinning at. But, you know, anyway, striking things around the back is you can see that we have a vertical mount here with 3 slots, which I will talk to you more in depth about in the other side. But you'll notice that the expansion card slots are only half height. So your graphics card has to be vertical, mounted over here, unless you have a half height graphics card. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, what can I fit in there? Well, you can get sound cards, can come with shortened slots, capture cards, networking cards as well. That was the words that I was trying to get out that I couldn't think about, because I have some Asus 10 GBE ones that will fit in here. So it looks limiting to start off with, but it kind of shows you that the market is starting to move towards the future. Get the graphics card mounted vertically, and then it also kind of hints to you the fact that Crossfire and SLI are effectively being retired, because all the driver support and everything has stopped. Up in this top corner there are a couple of toolless mounts for 3.5 inch hard drives. There's 2 of them, easily removable. Obviously you're going to need slack on the cables to be able to pull them out. They can still fit solid state drives like normal 2.5 inch ones as well, should you wish. And then normal power supply mount there, which when I take the back panel off you can get a better look at. Now, round the back of the case itself, when I stand out the way of the lights, you can see power supply floating, but it can obviously breathe easily because the air does go in there and out there, not the other way around. But the power supplies don't really breathe that hard anymore anyway. Lots of cable routing room, and there are tie downs and stuff. I've literally just thrown the test rig in here because obviously I have to build this thing so many times. We always use the same kit. But there's ample room in here. There are tie down ports. There's also grommets, well, cutouts for you to be able to put your fans through. This side mount, you can put 2 120s or 2 140s there, should you wish. And that does include radiators, and up to 150mm radiator, they do say, clearance. I personally like, because of like fan limitations and things like that, I think 60, 80mm an absolute maximum rad wise. But you can put the 240 there, and you can still fit the 360 in the roof because of the way that it's laid out, because your radiator will be this side and then in the side, and then the other one is over here, so you can actually get some fairly decent rad sizes there. But obviously with the one in the roof, you're going to have to think about the heatsink for your MOSFETs on the motherboard and the RAM size. And you can also see the large grommet over here for being able to pass the fans through. I do wish that they put a rubber in this, if I'm honest, and I'll show you the rubber from the other side. Now I'm going to leave the side panel off on purpose because I do want to talk to you about the grommets when we do get there. Now when I zoom in, you can see the grommets are open, and they're designed that way. It's not that they've split or anything like that. They've just they don't completely close up like most of the other ones. Now, it can look good, but at the same time, I think if you were untidy in the rear section, I think it does allow you to see the cables a bit much. And I'm not entirely sold on the design of these. Now, I'm going to show you it with the panel on as well, because you may have thought with the panel on, oh, I'm not going to be able to see anything because it's going to be dark around the back. But because of the vents, it does, or is, still visible. And it does mean that it does look a bit open. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not necessarily completely sold by it. I think some different, more closed kind of normal grommets may have worked a little better, or maybe a panel in the back. Now, the other time that this may become an issue is if you're running coloured power supply cables, because you'll be able to see them even more in the back, because you've obviously got the light, you're going to be able to see the colours. It's just one of those things that, like I said, I'm not completely sold on yet. Now you can see the room above the motherboard. You have that grommet, or that open section I should say, where there should be a grommet. And then you can see the rad mounts, and you can easily fit a radiator there, or a set of fans. Maybe put the radiator above and the fans below. But there's not a huge amount of room up there. I wouldn't want to be fitting anything larger personally than a 30mm thick normal kind of sized radiator. Just double checking, because the 120mm mounts aren't massively offset. So I do think you'd be better off sticking to a safe radiator size. But then again, the technologies with radiators and cooling and all of that sort of stuff have got better. But with next gen graphics cards looking like they might be pulling a lot of power, you may need more cooling space. But obviously you can have a slim 360 in the roof, and then you can still put a 240 down at the side over there, so could make life quite easy. Obviously that does mean you can put a 240mm AIO down here if you wanted, and then one in the roof, or you can get graphics cards with AIO, so you do still get the multiple radiator friendly aspect. Now in the bottom you'll see that the design pattern has been followed through, and it does all flow. Well, that they are hiding two 120mm fans in the bottom of the case. I'm just going to turn the over and show you the fans in the bottom. Now what this also does do, you've obviously seen I've taken off a removable dust filter, which is nice, but there is a fair amount of room in the bottom underneath that plastic. So that design, it means that you could hide a fair amount of cables and stuff down there if you wanted. Now the other thing that you could see or get excited about here is radiators, but because of the fact that the vertical graphics card is a must, because it's actually designed and built into the case, I wouldn't be messing around with radiators in the bottom personally. I think you're going to spoil it. Now the riser card is PCI Express 4 and is also designed to sit that little bit further over, so if you do have any half height expansion cards in, the riser cable itself sits away from those, and it's perfectly measured and designed to sit in the case without too much flex or anything like that. So if you did fit it, and I'll show you one fitted in a bit because this is only the test kit that we have in here at the moment, but it is perfect sized for that. Air cooling, if you did want to go air cooling, up to 160mm height air cooler in there. This kit, as I keep saying, is just our test kit that we move and put in every case so that we can compare the thermals really nice and easily, and more importantly fairly. And talking about thermals, so when it comes to performance, you'll see that we sort our data via CPU and GPU, because cases often perform very differently between the two. It's the same data in both graphs, just with it sorted in a different way. Now we test them at 600 RPM, 1000 RPM and a maximum RPM, and that's the case fans. We only change the case fans. The graphics card stays locked at 60% and the CPU cooler stays locked at 9 volts, so it's only the case that can possibly change the temperatures within. Now at 600 RPM I actually expected the Hyte to perform a little bit better because the fans are right underneath that graphics card, and it didn't. But one of the things I do need to stress is that they designed this around extra fans being added by an end user with like an AIO in the side, for example, or as you will see at the end, with me using it with an AIO in the roof with my own personal system. So it's not the ideal way, but we prefer not to start adding bits and bobs in, and we review them how they come, because some of you may just chuck an air cooler in it, although yes, it is getting a little bit long in the tooth now, and AIOs are definitely far more prevalent than when we first started making these graphs up. 1000 RPM was definitely the sweet spot for performance in my personal opinion though, and wanging it right up to the maximum rating really in reality just added extra noise. So with the standard fans and configuration of 1000 RPM, was about right. One thing I will say though is even though we didn't add any extra fans in, it did still sit in the middle of the graphs. Hasn't really topped any of them out other than that low RPM GPU score. So it has done relatively well.
I just realized I've built walls a mile high to protect my heart, but now I'm all alone, stuck on the inside. The heart doesn't need a castle, it needs a bridge. Been too scared that I'd unravel. Brick by brick, I built these walls. Now I know that I am strong. Just watch me tear them down. I'm gonna tear them down. If it couldn't break your heart, is it really love? If it can't tear you apart, is it really love? Just watch me march towards the battle. I'm gonna tear down this castle. I'm gonna tear down this castle. I'm gonna tear down this castle. Watch me march. If it couldn't break your heart, is it really love? If it can't tear you apart, is it really love?
So after a bit of funky time lapse, but my personal rig has gone inside it. My personal rig is a Y60 3080, and then I have an Edition 30 2011 board in there, and effectively I have been using this for quite a while. Now it was in a white Helios, white because I made it white, but I've decided to move to this for a bit of a change. And I actually think the kit inside it looks rather nice. Have added a little white LED behind the graphics card, which if you look straight on at the case you can see down the side. But when I'm sat there actually using it, it just gives it a nice little bit of glow. The ML fans that I've got in there, I'll be completely honest with you about the ML fans. They light up white, and that's why I use them. And it's because I don't particularly like all the cable mess and stuff that you can get with a lot of the RGB fans. So I've always kind of lent towards just using these for simplicity. And if you are interested, the white power supply that's in it is number 35 of 100, and they were limited edition ones, which is why I keep using it, because I treasure it. I'm pretty sure I was half the reason why they made them anyway. Round the back, big bunch of cables, but you can get the side panel on easy still. I'm probably getting a little bit better at this now because I didn't do it very much justice before. Haha, no, I'm not doing it justice again. Come on, Tom, there we go. And it's all on, or it was on. Oh, come on. And it's managed to tame the massive cables and hold it all in place as well. I will say that I've not made my life very easy because I do still have cable combs on a lot of that, which is why it looks extra bunchy, and I've literally just moved everything over from the other case and built in this really quickly, because at the end of the day this is my workstation and I actually need to render this video on this rig. But it's definitely growing on me. While I was building in it as well, I found it quite difficult to be able to screw the fans in from the bottom. I had to take the motherboard back out. But, and it makes me laugh, I'm only human. There are screws in the top. I could have literally just removed the entire panel. That would have also meant that if you caught it, I didn't actually need to cut the section that I did do, so I could put the radiator in there as well. So I got a little bit excited with it in reality, and they had already thought about it, and it would have made my life significantly easier, but I enjoyed the difficulty side of it anyway, because it just kept the old grey matter churning. So please do be aware of that and don't make the boo-boo like I did. Anyway, let's take a look at it on my desk. So that's my review of the Hyte Y60 finished. I've got my main rig in it. As I've said, you're going to see it on my desk. Follow me on socials, Instagram, Twitter, and the Facebook page, because you can fire me questions about it. It's going to stay there for a good while though. And I'm going to see how I get on with it. And it is very rare for me to take such a new case and then decide I want to sit beside it and use it for a bit. But I am really happy with the way it looks, and it's quite amazing how tidy it looks considering how big the Helios was that I was using. But for now at least, like I've said, like, subscribe, comment, go and follow me on all of the socials if you liked the review. But for now, this is the tiniest one with another video for you out. Ding! Love you, sis.